Here we go. We're live. Oh crap! I forgot to mute the stream, so it's gonna end up doubling back on itself. I gotta wait
It's
for it to
okay.
go live now before I can mute it.
You can always just blame me, Jay. That's general consensus around here.
I always do.
So it's not like they can prove it otherwise.
I'll
Leave it
run the
draw.
intros. Oh wait, I can mute it now. There we go. Yes, I muted it before it ever made a sound because I'm pro. All right, the intro's going.
Welcome to Tech Talk. Still didn't check the number. I'm
142.
now. Oh, it's 142. Okay. Welcome to Tech Talk 142. Jay and I are going to talk about stuff, and yeah, that's what we're going to do.
The only main topic I really have today that's tech related is going to be the leaked Ryzen pricing chart.
Okay.
Some of these companies that are privy to early access, for some of this stuff, like let's say Micro Center, Fry's, Newegg, like places like this, right? They get the heads up on when this stuff is going live.
Right.
Unfortunately, some of these companies put this shit in their database and it can be searched ahead of time. So they'll have it in their database and it's not actually able to be seen yet, like if you filter out CPUs and stuff. But some people, what retailer was it? I'll pull it up in a sec. That's the topic we're going to talk about here today. But anyway, guys, we do have the donation links up every single week. They're there. My donations from this point forward will be going entirely to the cost of the studio. We're 3 weeks away from move-in. 3 weeks. I don't think time can come fast
Jay's
enough.
becoming a big shot, and I'm just trying to piece my old room back together.
It's
That's
nothing
what I'm
about
doing.
big shot. It's just
You're motherfucking big shot, Jay, okay? You're big shot. Just accept it.
Will
Put on
you
your big
stop
shot
that
hat.
already? I got enough complaints about that last time. But anyway, yeah. So it's just I needed. This is the space I work in here, right? But I do so much computer builds, and I'm constantly trying to do so many different things. I'm on top of myself again, even though I have the shop downstairs. But the shop doesn't help me with the recording space, if that makes sense. Because then when I work in the shop, it gets obliterated, and I can't record out there.
How noise isolated is your new studio? Is it like pretty decent where you don't have to like time shit around airplanes taking off and stuff?
There's a train station like a block away, and like the Metrolink and stuff does go by, but it's not that bad because my studio faces away from it on the opposite side of the building.
Oh, okay. So you're not getting the full brunt of it.
There is retail like down below, like outside, and some of that noise does transfer up, but it's not that bad. Like with shotgun mics and stuff, it's really
That's
not
cool.
that bad. So I'm happy about that. Cannot wait to get in there. Plus, the main reason why I can't wait to get in there too, mirrored fiber connection. Yeah.
Finally get away from that poor people down or upstream.
Here's what I don't get. I've always been bad at the conversion of megabyte versus megabit when it comes to speed. So, for instance, I've got 5 megabit up. What is that in kilobits? That would be 5,000 kilobits a second, right?
No.
Megabit, kilobit, yeah, right?
Hold
No,
on
no, no,
here.
kilobits per second. That's
Yeah.
okay. So that's the conversion of megabytes, right? That's
Yes.
1,000 megabytes.
Yeah, it'd be like 500 kilobytes per second.
So then, if I have 5 megabit up,
Mm-hmm.
what is my actual megabyte up?
half a megabyte a second.
Is that really the conversion? Is it that simple?
I'll double check it, but that's what my brain's telling me here. All right.
I didn't think it was that simple. It could be.
See, convert. Well, yeah, because a kilobit is, or sorry, a megabit is 1,024 kilobits. Same thing for bytes. So, and the conversion I think is a tenth.
Yeah, so everyone's saying multiply by 1024. I don't understand why I continue to drop frames every single week. This is one of the reasons why I hate doing Tech Talk here at the house. Ever since I moved, every single week we drop frames. I've already dropped 210 frames since we started this. Because for whatever reason, my stupid internet here in the residential area and the connection to YouTube in this area versus my old area is just garbage. It's just garbage. So I get frustrated doing Tech Talk because I look down and I get to see how many frames I've dropped. Like I've dropped 1% of this stream already. And it's frustrating. And
At
I
least
can't
it
even...
looks sexy though. So Skype's at least doing its job, kind of.
It only looks as sexy though as the encoder can send to YouTube too. So I've got to keep that number in check.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm not trying to rant. It's just perks of moving too. I'm going to have mirrored fiber. That's going to be nice.
Yeah, so no, the conversion's right. So you're 500 kilobytes per second is what you're getting because 100 megabits is 10 megabytes per second. So yeah, if 5 megabit, you're literally not even getting a megabyte a second. That's so bad.
Yeah, that explains why it constantly goes orange, red, orange, red, orange, red when I try and do 1080. But then if I don't do 1080, everyone's like, "What's with this poor people 720p connection?"
You know what we
But
do is we just play it off and say that we're streaming for the poor people.
you know what? When I move, I'm doing 4K. Damn it! Because when I have that 250 megabit up,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I just found out this camera that you're seeing me on here, it can't record 4K, but it will output 4K over the HDMI. How weird is that?
that's
So they
normal.
put so
That's
there's a
normal.
4K.
A lot of cameras like that will do that. That way you can stream 4K over HDMI into a pro recorder.
Gotcha, but it's kind of a weird feature for like a little pocket camera. This is my AX100. It's only a 1080p video recording camera. You plug it in, and it's like, oh, we detected a 4K device connected, so we can output in 4K. I was like, huh. So that's a little strange for a pocket camera. Like I would expect that from the FDR AX33 or 53, the handheld ones, the camcorders, but not from like the little pocket jobber. So I still think these Sonys are badass cameras. They're horribly overpriced, but they're badass.
They are. They're overpriced. Let's put the chat back in there. I forgot to pop out the chat. Anyway, yeah. So Hobbs is on duty tonight. Last time we streamed, was it last week we streamed? No, week before. Because last
4K
week I was
device
at.
connected, so we can
Dang it!
output.
I just forgot to mute the stream.
okay. I was like,
Suddenly I thought you were talking over me. I'm like, what the hell? So
he
Hobbs
was
is
all
back
ready
on.
to get off me. He was already gonna just attack me on that too. He's gonna be like, Jerry, you son of a bitch.
Oh man! All right, so Hobbs is on duty. Any
Yeah.
donations that come in on my end, Hobbs will be taking count. If anything gets missed, I apologize, but it's his fault. So yeah, again, donations go towards the studio. I cannot wait. But I also want to make. I need to make a quick announcement too, an important one, guys. I do know that my forums are down. I actually had a conversation with the host last night. It appears that the old version of PHPBB we were running has security holes in it, and malware got in. And the host's automated system basically said, "Hey, let's take all these malware files and quarantine them," which unfortunately quarantined necessary files for the forum to work. So we are working on getting the database backed up and moving it onto a much more secure, much more modern version of the forum. It will be back. I apologize for the inconvenience, but I am aware of it. My bad.
Translation: the system administrator was looking at porn, and he wasn't on a very good site. There you go.
Oh, is that it? Is
No, we
that
got the malware.
No, it
That's-
could be
that's
that
how
fact that
malware
the PHPBB's been around for 17 years, and it's not exactly the most secure version of PHPB or
No,
PHP.
Let's perpetuate the stereotype that you're just getting DDoS attacked.
Okay, that's
That's what it all comes down to. That's what everybody assumes. So let's just say, yeah, Jay is under a massive DDoS attack from Anonymous, and they've taken down the entire infrastructure.
I'm always being DDoSed.
I'm getting DDoSed right now. I think I got 17 internet connections
Forever DOSed.
for every DOS.
Oh, you know what part of the drop frames could be? I'm setting up 60, but I only have the stream set to 30. Let me see what
You're on your Ryzen test box. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's why you're dropping frames, dude. Do you got your fire extinguisher handy?
There.
Those
Oh.
jokes will always be funny to me, Jay. Always. I don't care if anybody else laughs. I will keep making them.
95 watts is what it looks like the new Ryzen is supposed to be. Okay, so Digital Trends is talking about this too. I know WCCF talked about this, but I don't like WCCF tech because they're like tech tabloid as far as I'm concerned, so I don't pay attention to them. But as soon as Digital Trends picked this up, I got happy about this. So Bottom Line Telecommunications, global service, whatever. So it's ShopBill. Is that it? ShopBLT.com. They're the ones that people realize if you go to their website and you typed in AMD AM4 in the search box, it actually came back with their links to pricing on the chips because they're going to be selling them. So here's what we've got. Now we kind of know what the naming is going to be of the chips if this turns out to be legit. So you've got 3 SKUs that are in their search box. You've got the 1700, the 1700X, and the 1800X. It looks like the 1800X is going to be that 8-core monster that we saw where they were keeping pace with the $1,000 CPU from Intel, the 6900K. Do you remember what I told you what I thought a good price point would be? That would be a good kick in the mouth to Intel and bring some market share back to AMD if the competition is there. Do you remember that number?
$100,000?
But I specifically said a number, and everyone thought I was crazy, and you said that as well. What was that number? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember.
I said $500. I said if AMD came out at $500, matching $1,000 CPU performance, that's how they'd bring back market share and excitement. And you were like, they can't do that. They wouldn't undercut that far. $490. $490 is what the pricing that's been leaked.
But again,
is.
we're not positive. We're not positive that that's the chip. We don't know if there's been modifications made. We don't know if there's like another SKU in between, or they're missing that SKU of the Mega one. We don't know.
I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if they. Okay, but these are the SKUs that we know exist already. So why wouldn't it be in the database already?
I would buy one for $500. Like if it could rival the Extreme Edition Intel processor, I would pay $500.
Not Extreme. The Extreme is the 10-core 20-thread. This would be the 6900K, which is the 8-core 16-thread.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's right. Because isn't the Extreme like 1700,
1700?
It's up there. Yeah, no, you're right. But still, that's no. If they could come into the market with something that's comparable performance, even within like 10%. For that price, I don't see why people would just buy that and then like a half dozen fire extinguishers and just go to town.
Dude, at 95 watts though,
it ain't gonna light nothing on fire, dude. If it is 95 watts though, we know AMD fibs the numbers sometimes. It might be 95 watts idling until they actually like tell it to add two numbers together and then it catches fire.
Also, too, people need to make sure they keep they know the difference between power draw and TDP. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Because what's the peak power draw? Did they ever release those numbers?
No.
What is the theoretical?
Well, no,
max
165. I think 165.
Okay, that sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah, because they were comparing to the 6900, which is a 140 watt chip.
Yeah, so at 160, that's still a lot of power. That's a lot of heat dispersal there.
Well, it is, but if you're comparing it to like an X99 system, these aren't systems that are built with the idea of power efficiency in mind either.
Everybody in chat, Jerry's such a hater. No, I'll be the first, dude. Hey, I'm poor people now. I'll be the first to jump on the AMD bandwagon, man. I'll go crawling back to those guys if they can produce that for $500. Hell, I might even put a 480 in there too and just throw caution to the wind.
I'm building an AMD test rig. I need to keep one on hand now because if we have a platform worth talking about, that's not always going to be with the mindset of budget performance. Yeah. Then I'm happy. Also, too, they promised a Q1 launch. We've got.
How's that going? Are they on track for that? Like,
there are rumors about AMD launch date. Now we're close if SKUs are already popping up in retails.
Here's the thing, though: is what company does just releases? Like, usually they announce the official release date long before they actually do it. So if they haven't announced an official release date, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're not on schedule to release in the first quarter.
I would say that. I would say if they don't have a hard launch date, that means that they probably have manufacturing problems.
That's probably, I would agree with you there. And the other thing too is, what did I tell you about Intel and how they have so many things in their back pocket that anytime something comes out that rivals them, they can just like take a couple steps and catch up? I was doing a little reading about Cannon Lake this morning. like it sounds like they basically just jumped KB Lake after what? How long's KB Lake been out? Like a couple months?
January 3rd.
and Cannon Lake's like already on the table and they're already talking about like the performance metrics for it and everything. It's almost like they just got it ready in the gate just in case for some reason Ryzen ends up being a huge success. They can just drop that the next day and say, we're going to undercut KB Lake down to $500 and then we'll just, I think that's what they're going to do.
Okay, but KB Lake is not. Okay, I think you really got to brush up on your hardware, sir.
I do. I will claim total hardware ignorance at this point.
KB Lake is mainstream. i7 7700K, etc. Those are already only like they're like $300. Okay,
yes,
or $329 or whatever that might be. Okay, you're confusing KB Lake with Skylake E, which is what we currently have with like 6900K and whatnot. Those are the $1,000 CPUs. So you're confusing mainstream with enthusiast platform.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's a parallel deployment, not sequential. They're both in competing spaces.
Right.
KB Lake and Cannon Lake. They're running.
No.
They're not to replace
KB Lake and Skylake E is what's out right now.
Yeah, but what's Cannon Lake when it drops?
Don't know yet exactly.
Okay, because Cannon Lake are all posting like 15% improvement across the board. Blah 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 blah.
The E platform or the enthusiasts, which is what the E usually stands for, is typically lagging behind the mainstream. Okay, so mainstream launches like a lot of the newer tech, like when the onboard memory controller and all that happened, we were behind on the E platform. So usually it's about a year behind on that. But there's also rumors of X299 and all that stuff coming out in like June-ish. So yeah, confusing. But anyway, so the question is going to be what SKUs do they have to compete against Canyon, or no, see, you're not even seeing Canyon Lake against Kaby Lake. So I see a SKU here for 381 and 316. That's a 1700 and a 1700X. Now the 1700 is a 65 watt chip. I'm going to probably go out on a limb and say that's a quad core, non-hyper-threading ish, or whatever they're calling their technology.
So that's kind of what, competition to the i5 kind of thing?
But the price point seems off if that's the case, unless this is some sort of a Canadian retailer.
What's the price on that one again? The low end?
316.
316. And what's the median price for like an i5 right now?
229, 239.
So yeah, you're right. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Unless this is a Canadian site. Can anyone confirm whether or not Bottom Line Telecommunications is Canadian or United States? Because if 490 Canadian, then that would put the 1800X at something against like a 7700K at that point.
I think we're missing a piece of information here.
Crater Lake.
Crater Lake.
So it's all Crater Lake will be the IX 8000X.
Okay, so the current conversion rate from Canadian to US dollar is 76 cents. So yeah, about a quarter cheaper. So yeah, that'd put them right in the same price. The i5 versus that would be in the same price if that is a Canadian price.
Yeah, I just got corrected. They're right. Broadwell E is our current E platform. Skylake E is the one we're waiting on.
Okay.
Yeah. See Broadwell. Geez,
because the article
that shows
I read,
we're already two technologies behind when it comes to the X platform, at least for the CPU tech.
Because what I read on Cannon Lake this morning was that they were directly comparing it to Kaby Lake in that it's a 15% performance boost. That's why I got confused about it being the replacement rather than the high-end version. Let's see.
Yeah.
Kaby Lake. Yeah, no, it's very confusing. But I do know that Intel has, I mean, they plan their shit out like Disney plans Star Wars, right? I mean, they know every single chip they're going to make through the next 20 years. It's just a matter of when they're going to release them.
1700 series is rumored to be an 8-core, 8-thread lower clock than the 1800 series. So if that's the 8-core stuff, that can't be 8-core at 65 watts. Unless it's 8-core without any sort of like... Because AMD does have a hyper-threading technology now. It's like a concurrent thread utilization. So I assume the X SKUs would be the ones that have that, and then the 1700 65 watt doesn't. I would be very curious as to what the 8-core non-hyper-threading version would be at $316. Bottom line is American, not Canadian. So that's American pricing we're seeing.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, like from a competitive standpoint. So we'll have to see. But the weird thing is on the low end, they're not competitive, but the high end, they're stupid competitive.
This is how. I said this months ago. This is how you get market share back. You've got to shake it up. You've got to say...
Yeah, they should do it across the whole board. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have the ultra low end basically go toe to toe with Intel, and then just have the highest end thing that you have in your lineup be half the price.
Yeah,
I mean, unless you're really trying to force people to make that decision to go to that, in which case, why did you even release the slower processors to begin with? It's really weird. I'm curious to see what AMD does here, but I know I did a poll today on Twitter just asking people, if they've already decided on their next system whether they were going to build Zen or not, or Ryzen, and actually the percentage was
this all comes down. This all comes down to stock ability, like to keep this in stock, supply and demand. If they've hyped this, so here's how this could go bad, guys. If AMD hyped the shit out of this, and then they can't deliver, like you go to buy it and it's just not available. Are you going to... So I want you guys to answer in the comments. Are you going to wait for it to become available? Look how long it took the 400 series, like the 480 to become available. Months, right? And there was stock supply for issues for months. Are you going to wait, or are you just going to buy Intel? I'm curious. Tell me in the comments on that.
I mean, me personally, I just buy Intel, but you know me.
If they've got an 8-core... 16-thread CPU for $490, that's truly comparing to the 6900K. That's amazing. I would tell everyone to go buy that.
You'd be kicking yourself in the balls pretty hard if you went and bought the Intel equivalent and found out, 5 days later, all your friends are building these rigs for, $1,000 cheaper. Especially
since they've already said AM4 is going to be around till at least 2020.
So tell me this: what do you think Intel's reaction to the market will be? Let's say AMD. Okay, AMD's just holding their cards close to their chest. They're not having manufacturing problems. The shit drops in the first quarter, like they thought it would, and it's $500. Do you think Intel is going to counter and try to compete by bringing down the pricing, or do you think Intel's really going to push hard into the next generation to basically try to just leapfrog it?
I think Intel's very complacent and very used to being the leader now for over a decade. I don't think they are truly concerned about any
Okay.
of this right now until market share slips. That's
So
what
you
they'll
think you
respond
think
to.
they'll just stand their ground and hope that product loyal or brand loyalty kind of keeps them going?
Yeah, I mean, there
Okay.
might be a slight price shift, but I don't think they're going to straight up
Yeah.
drop a whole new line of product.
So
I,
this kind of surprised me today. Check this out. So I just did a really quick little poll, and I said, hey, what's your next build going to be? Is it going to be Ryzen or i7 for your next build? 27% said Ryzen, 41% said i7, and 32% said undecided. But still, that was a lot higher percentage than I was expecting for something that's not like isn't out there and isn't proven yet.
yeah,
It sounds like there are a lot of people out there that are really excited about trying something other than Intel, if nothing else, just to try something different.
I think it depends on your necessity for a build, and also to your level of fanboyism. Because there's
That's
people that
true.
are going to be on the fence and willing to wait because they don't need a new system right now. But then there's going to be those early adopters that are going to wave their AMD flags all the way to the store and like cheer and chant and make a big scene about it. And then there's people that I think are in the middle that are just kind of like impartial, and
Yeah.
they're just going, you know what? I'm going to wait for the reviews. I'll wait a little while and see what happens, and I'll make an informed decision based on the performance at that time, which is the way I've always been. It's just for the longest time there hasn't been any competitor on an AMD side that can give me the performance I wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm kind of. I used to be an AMD like that. A lot of people don't realize this. I was back in the K5 and K6 days. Oh my god, I loved AMD. Everything I had was AMD back then because it was just so much cheaper. And it looks like we actually might be coming into a time where that's true again, where it's like it's cheap and has some serious performance. Because remember, back in the day, the K5 CPUs they did some things like really well that Intel didn't do so well.
oh yeah, the
Like I
K5 and
remember,
K6 stuff, heck yeah,
yeah, like in 3D Studio Max. Remember the old DOS version of 3D Studio Max? It had a
yeah.
plugin for it that would make it render super fast on AMD processors, and Intel like never had anything like that. And that was all before the GPU, the GPU stuff came out and started taking over and reigning supreme.
Yeah. Guys,
Wow, dude, do we really have 4,100 people watching right now?
well, look at the title.
Is it tech? Oh, wait, prices leaked. This is bad news for Intel. Okay, that actually makes sense. I'm looking down there. I'm like, wow, that's a little bit hotter than we usually run.
Yeah. Also, too, I apologize for the. I've dropped 3,295 frames so far. 3.8% of this show has dropped. I can't do anything about my ISP, guys. We just have to ride this out until I move to the studio, and then I have that fiber optic goodness. I've never had a connection like that. That's that fast.
So
It'll be so
I have
nice.
another good topic that we could segue into from this, and that is this whole CPU versus GPU.
We've talked about that
Argument.
before, though. I mean, how
Well, no,
much?
we have, but there's more information and more things have changed. I mean, do you think that CPUs now are as big of a deal as they used to be?
Of
Like I
course.
ask people, a lot of people do. Now, why? Tell me why. I mean, I know you have to have a CPU. I'm talking from a performance perspective. Why do you think? Because you look at CPUs and you look at the pricing for the CPUs and like the little bit of performance gains versus the GPU arc and how much performance and how many more cores they're gaining. It seems like the GPUs are on a much steeper arc as far as moving into the future than CPUs. The CPUs seem like they're much more stagnated growth.
Um, okay, so you need to get obviously you need to get developers on board with
Yeah,
that.
you do. Yep.
Like for instance, everyone people who don't spend their lives encoding video don't understand the way GPUs are used when it comes to at least mainstream editors like Adobe and whatnot. I'm not talking about like the full-on versions of DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that. $30,000
Yeah.
software. I'm talking about the real everyday stuff that people are using. GPUs are used for live playback, live. So it's like Adobe uses the Mercury engine, which then utilizes your GPU to do live playback with things like effects and transitions and all that stuff. That's all offloaded to your GPU when you're doing the editing portion. But when you're actually encoding it, it's all on CPU. It's all the CPU. So until you can get these companies like Adobe to actually utilize the GPUs in the actual
Yep.
encoding process, it makes no difference to me the argument of GPU versus CPU. I need the fastest CPU I can get, with the most parallel lanes of processing power, so I can do things while I'm working until GPUs can be utilized in that way.
No, I technically do agree. The thing that really bugs me on this argument though is how x86 should have been shot dead a long time ago, and the reason it hasn't is because there's so much development into it that not everybody wants to just slam on the brakes and move to a new platform.
Yeah.
But if they did, there are so many better platforms out there. I mean, because parallel computing is becoming the norm now, right? I mean, not every single operation you do can be, parallelized, but some of them, or the majority of them actually can. And the GPU and CPU, I mean, they share a lot in common, other than the cache and the raw core speed, which is where CPUs reign supreme, right? You're not going to see GPUs that have freaking 4 gigahertz, a speed on a single core. But you're going to see them have literally hundreds of cores, where overall you add all that together. If you were to parallelize something perfectly, you would have it across the board. It would be way faster, 100 times faster.
Let me tell you why companies like NVIDIA, this is all personal speak here. Companies like NVIDIA excite me, not because they give you such good gaming performance, or they have really good GPUs for gaming, but because they're no longer just a semiconductor manufacturer for games and GPU leveraging for like things like Quattro and CAD and stuff like that. They recognize exactly what you're saying, and they've leveraged the GPU power into other segments of the world, right? So deep learning, which is they've got the P100 supercomputers now that can do things like they can take an entire rack and shrink it down into one. The size of a machine the size of like 1 4U unit or 1 4U blade because of the performance of P100 Pascal. 8 of those in one blade is like as powerful as an entire server rack. Smart cars, things like this. They're no longer just the graphics card company you put in your computer and go, I got great FPS. They've gone big picture with GPU. So where you've got and this is why I've never been a diehard AMD fan like I have been with NVIDIA for the last almost 2 decades, is AMD has always just struggled to stay relevant and say, hey, we've got a computer or a graphics card that can give you good FPS in Doom, where NVIDIA's like, that's cute, but we're over here now doing real world stuff with deep learning computers and working with solving cancer and stuff like that. So it's like, to me, I like a company that branches out and gets and uses creative ways to utilize and leverage the power that they've created. Now, if we could get everybody to do that, then we would probably see the CPU no longer be relevant, which is interesting because then the GPU just becomes a CPU and then the cycle continues itself.
No, true. And that's the thing that really bugs me is you have an architecture, like you said, like the Pascal architecture that's really, really tight, really power efficient, has a massive amount of power, but instead of gaining that power through one linear operation, it's through, parallel operations, right? You have 1,000 cores, but if you can get those 1,000 cores working at 100%, now you're 100 times faster than the fastest core and the fastest CPU.
Yeah.
And so it just comes down to, I'm really, really surprised that NVIDIA hasn't stepped forward. I mean, they did to some degree, right? They did create the, oh God, I can't remember. They did create one CPU. It was like an atom. It was a type of architecture that they created, right. and it did okay, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. But it's like, if they came to the market, I think NVIDIA could compete with Intel creating a new architecture. And now they just got to get a partner on board that would actually develop the operating system for it. I mean, Linux, the community would do it for you in a second.
I want to address a comment when you're done.
Go for it. Oh, I was just going to say, Microsoft's never going to jump on board. I think that's probably the biggest problem is Microsoft has the biggest market share for consumer operating systems. And they would never flip the switch on the x86 architecture, x64 architecture, because they're already kind of in bed with Intel on that. But I think if that bond ever breaks, you're going to see NVIDIA come to market. You're going to start seeing CPUs that have 64 cores, 128 cores running at 1500 megahertz to 2 gigahertz. Yeah. And overall they're going to be faster because all of the software development is going to be going into caching things across multiple cores instead of just running things as a linear operation.
So Saxy81 in chat says, so you like NVIDIA because of stuff you don't use? ? LOL. So today he's like, you like NVIDIA because of stuff you're not using. I'm talking about like the deep learning and the smart cars stuff. First of all, deep learning, who's to say deep learning isn't something that's going to affect us in the future?
It already is. Everybody's using it. If you use a search engine, you're already using deep learning.
But my point is, there's so much going on behind the scenes that's going to affect our lives in the future, not just from NVIDIA, but all companies starting to leverage AI and deep learning and things like that. I'm very excited about a company that's paving a way for our future. I'm not as ignorant with a comment like that to say I only like the thing I'm using today for the reason I'm using it today. That's a very arrogant and ignorant way of looking at life.
Well, look at the one thing you do use though, is you do use the Adobe products every year. And even though the Adobe products aren't a gleaming example of GPU utilization, the encoders themselves still use a high portion of GPU to lower the overall render time, depending on what effects and stuff you use. So it does affect you.
Not a lot. I've done this test. I've done this. I've done this test already with Adobe on my test bench, taking a Titan and putting it on there, and then just taking like a plain old regular graphics card because I was curious, putting it on there, and I saw no difference. The only difference I saw was the smoothness of playback when I had effects and stuff in the timeline, but the rendering times were unaffected.
Oh, that's sad. So and which encoder are you using? Is that the H.264? Did you try a couple?
It's H.264. I haven't. The only time I've ventured out of H.264, YouTube like freaked out and couldn't process it.
Yeah, because there's one codec in there called I think it's H.264 Blu-ray or H.265. And when I tried H.265, it maxed my GPUs. Yeah. No other codec did it, but that one did. But it's the one that you upload and all you got is video and no audio.
I used H.265, but YouTube took it. But it didn't realize until it tried to process it after it uploaded, which took, it was a big file. It took me like, I don't know, 4 hours to upload it.
Yeah. Somebody should try a DaVinci Resolve render test, though, because it's free. You can download the 1080p version for free, and apparently that's supposed to be all hardware accelerated.
Well, what happened, though, is YouTube took it, and then it couldn't process it. It was just like, something went wrong with the file, which I thought was funny, because normally if I try and upload something that it doesn't like, it tells me that right away, because YouTube does a lot of processing during the upload.
Yeah.
It's pretty good about having concurrent lanes of processing happening with the upload versus the processing time that it does on its end. But yeah, I don't know, it just freaked out. And I find it kind of surprising that YouTube wasn't supporting the new H.265 encoder. But then again, they just now caught up on doing better real-time processing on H.264 and MP4 stuff. So I guess
I would love to see the behind the scenes, because that Google's still transitioning YouTube, even though they acquired them years ago. Google's still in the process of transitioning a lot of that stuff off and into their data center and using their technology, right? Is they're consuming the company. And I think that's why we're starting to see dividends paid in how fast H.264 encoding is actually happening. And you'll probably see it to a point, because Google's really good at cloud computing, right? I mean, I would argue and say that Google's probably one of the best in the world at cloud computing, maybe next to Microsoft Azure. But I would love to see a time where it's like you upload anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You could encode it in Adobe Flash. You could encode it in Cineform. Doesn't matter. Upload it to YouTube and boom, it's just there.
Aiden Rauscher in chat says J/nerd. I'll take that as a compliment. He says, do you think that AMD is putting too much effort into Ryzen and won't be able to stay competitive in the long run? Define competitive, right? So if you take their current market share and increase that at all, then that's a win for them.
That's the one benefit they have going for them right now.
And their stock is going way up still.
Yeah, the thing you got to realize, AMD compared to their competitors, right? Comparatively, they're already rock bottom. Right now they're throwing their Hail Mary. That's what Ryzen is.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried it with the 480. The 480, had kind of a mixed launch, but it did okay. And they're hoping that Ryzen will be the thing to dig them out. So they're taking a lot of risks. I guarantee you, AMD isn't sitting down and going, I don't know if we can risk this. I know they're just throwing all their cards on the table. You're going to see one of two things happen. It's either going to succeed or another company's going to acquire them. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Dude, 1 year ago, we had this conversation 1 year ago when we were joking around because we were like, look, AMD stock's only $1.83. February 12th, that's 3 days from now, 2016, it was $1.83 for their stock. And basically anyone would look at that and go, oh man, I mean, we were anticipating AMD possibly even selling itself to another company or shutting down as a whole. And we're going, man, that would be a stupid buy. Yeah. Today, it's worth $13.42. So in 1 year, if someone had, let's say there was $1 million worth of stock available to buy.
Yeah.
If you could buy $1 million worth of it, who could have made it's not 13 times. It's more like 6.5 times their money. But still, could you imagine how rich you'd be today? But then if you were smart today, you'd have to cash out too at the same time. Then again,
I hope that somebody hated us so much that they went and bought AMD stock after we said.
Oh yeah, we forced
them to do it, and now they're just rich wearing a monocle, watching this, laughing right now.
They're wearing a Richard Mille or something.
Yeah, I never saw that.
No, but seriously though, we also were joking. Remember, they were about to dip under $1 billion in market capital.
Yep,
they're $12.42 billion today in 1 year.
You know what though? Based on those numbers, I would say that.
A bubble?
I mean, that's a huge success.
It's a huge success, but is it a bubble?
Huge success. Yeah, I mean, growing at that rate, it'd have to be a bubble, right? I don't think any company, in the history of companies, really is going to jump like that and sustain that growth arc, unless you're Apple. but I don't think anybody else could.
You know what? You honestly want to, in my opinion doesn't matter. It's just my opinion. But I feel like AMD grew because AMD finally allowed Radeon to be its own subsidiary division of the company rather than controlled by the same, penny counting monkeys on the accounting side of AMD. That they
Yep.
were allowed to finally be kind of have some creative freedom, and they revamped and structured the entire graphics division. So and they brought in Raja Katori, that did, and that is his last name, right? I'm pretty sure it's Katori. I want to double check that. I want to make sure I didn't.
But we don't even know the CEO anymore. It's like that's how small that company is.
So anyway, no, but still, it's like, what I think enthusiasts and investors, when they saw that, they were like, this is the move that they needed. There was this concept of sell. Remember, everyone was worried that they were going to sell Radeon, the Radeon part, right?
I thought they were going to.
But then what they do, they cut it off under the same corporate umbrella, but then gave it freedom and a budget. And look what happened. Now we've got Vega, which is supposed to come out and be supposedly, based on what we saw at CES, better than the 1080. Not as good as a Titan, but then it doesn't need to be. Better than the 1080. And
Again, it comes down to price point too, right? I mean, if they're better than a 1080 and they're coming in under the price of a 1080 and they've got a matching CPU that works well and in tandem with it,
yeah,
I think that people are going to jump on that.
Raja. Yeah, I don't know.
Today
how to say
on
his
name
last-
butchering.
I'm bad at pronouncing Indian
I am
names.
too. I am too, man.
It's funny though, because Nick is half Indian, and his whole mom's side is like from India.
yeah,
and
his
so
uncle
it's-
runs Microsoft now.
Sasha.
It's not just, they're all related, right? Oh my god.
I do wish that I had been able to invest in this, but hey, whatever. Yeah,
Oh,
they were
dude,
worth
hindsight's great, right?
they were worth 1.1 billion at that time. Jeez,
Like
man.
honestly, just 1,000.
Who would have
shares.
thought though?
We could have bought 1,000 shares, and that still would have been like an awesome return.
But okay. Anyone who plays the stocks knows, though, that you have to be able to remove the word could have and would have from your vocabulary if you're going to be an investor.
Yeah, or you'll commit suicide. Like
Yeah.
seriously, I have. So now that I'm self-employed, I don't have a person like basically managing my stocks. Well, I do. I have a friend that helps me out with it. But it's like he told me to invest the whole kit and caboodle in the money market because he thought that was going to do well, and that's what he was investing in. So I was like, oh shit, I throw caution to the wind. I watched that thing, and it's like every time it dipped down, I about shit myself. I'm like, get out, get out, get out. He's like, nope, don't do it, don't do it. Wait until this date. Wait till this date, and boom, I was up a lot.
Yeah.
But you have to sit and wait, and you have to wait, and there's no guarantees. And oh god, I hate playing the stock market, but if you know what you're doing, you can actually make a decent amount of money doing it.
So I'm gonna put on my prediction hat. Are you ready? I'm wearing my
Let's
prediction
hear it.
hat. It says make predictions great again. Okay. So GDC is February 27th through the 3rd of March 3rd. Okay.
Okay.
The rumors are that there's a panel going together for AMD at GDC. So everyone's rumoring Ryzen, maybe Vega. I don't know. Vega's supposed to be Q2 though. I know they wouldn't have pulled Vega in, but GDC though. If we're going to see a Ryzen launch, then do you think if Intel is sitting on a 1080 Ti, do you think this is the time they do it? And the reason why I say that is we are deep into the life cycle of Pascal. Okay, normally we're like 14 to 18 months. They've gone as long as 18 and gone as short as 12 months in a life cycle of a GPU series. It's now February 9th, and it was May 5th when we were out at Austin and they launched the 1080. So
Well, you have to ask yourself: do you think that AMD is in any position or has anything in their pocket that can compete with it if they dropped it right now? I
are
don't
you
think
saying
they
does
do.
NVIDIA have anything or AMD?
No, AMD. I'm thinking AMD doesn't even. I think Intel's literally going to hang on to that as long as they can to sell.
We're talking about NVIDIA at this point.
Yeah, no, I know the 1080 Ti, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm saying that Intel, I don't think they will drop it because there's no reason to. And unless AMD comes out with something that's hyper competitive that they need to release another SKU so that they can drop the pricing on the previous one, like the 1080, for instance.
I mean,
I don't think they will.
I know we're comparing two different things. It is GDC after all. That's usually when things are talked about. Like the original Titan Maxwell dropped in March of 2015. That's only a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, things are weird. We're off the track. We used to have a very linear launch cycle, kind of like Apple. You always know when the new iPhone's coming, right? September. You always know September,
Yep.
October, every year. but we're off the track. We're not doing that anymore when it comes to the PC components. I kind of feel like if you're Intel, I don't know, we're like you said, KB Lake just launched in January. The Broadwell E stuff, it's only like 6-7 months old at this point. So if you're NVIDIA, do you just sit back and not launch a 1080 Ti if you're sitting on it, and do you wait for Vega, or do you just try and steal some of the thunder from AMD and take some of the win out of their sales if you're NVIDIA, just by keeping your name in the forefront on the front page of these news articles? It's a strategic play, right?
I honestly couldn't tell you, because I can see pros and cons to both of them. I know that the power play would be cool, because I mean, demoralizing your enemy is the way to go. But at the same time, why show a hand and why go into production for something if you don't have to? Because they already have Titan on the high end. They already got 1080. The middle piece there, I mean, the only way that they would really need that from like a market perspective is if there was something competitive from AMD.
Okay, then let's look at it this way. You're NVIDIA. You've got 1050, 50 Ti, 1060, two versions of the 1060, a 1070, a 1080, potentially a 1080 Ti, and a Titan X. The price gap of everything down low is incremental where it belongs. You got this huge gap between 1080 and Titan X.
That's true.
What if you leave the 1070, or even drop the 1070 down to, let's say, $329, back where the 70s used to be, $329-ish dollars. You slide the 1080 down to $500, and you bring in the 1080 Ti at $699.
See, that would make sense, because that would stomp. That would stomp AMD. You filled in the gaps. Yeah.
They've done it before. They did this with the 900 series, and they did it with the 700 series, where everyone was like, 780 Ti, where's the 780 Ti going to fit? Well, they just slid the top end down, but left the mid-range where it was. But I'm saying take the 1070 and slide that down too. That's where you then start to put a lot of strain in that middle range and lower upper range of GPUs. Because fuck the Titan X, okay? Titan X Pascal, it's a cool card, but you're getting, what, 20%, maybe 15% extra performance for nearly 100% extra cost? That's not even like in the realm of makes sense, okay?
Yeah.
But the 1080 Ti, what if that's 95% of the performance of the Titan X, which it always has been? The TIs have always been within like 95 to 93% of the Titan variant for hundreds of dollars less. If you're AMD and you see that squeezed market space that NVIDIA kind of slid into them DMs right there, what do you do if you're Vega? Do you drop the price of Vega at launch and then eat some of those profits from the company? This is what happens with companies, guys. What you don't realize is companies make, I say you don't realize, some of these people don't realize based on the conversations, they don't realize that all the strategic stuff happens behind the scenes. It's not just about making a great product, but it's about selling your product, and you can sell it by forcing the competitors to do something.
Yeah. No, and that happens actually like more often than not. I mean, I've seen companies before, including Microsoft, sell something at a loss. Actually at a loss, so that they were hemorrhaging money.
AMD did that?
Yeah, so did Xbox.
PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, and the only reason those companies do it is because they basically want to corner the market share, and their secondary objective is to force the other company to respond by doing the same thing, but the other company is going to bleed revenue at a much higher rate. If you're a $50 billion corporation, you can stand to lose $500 million or $1 billion on something like this. But if you're a small company, you're done. Like, you can't compete. You literally cannot compete. So it's in the best interest of that company to just lose some money so that they can win in the long run.
It's an interesting time, and it's an exciting time, though, because I want this. We've been saying we want this for a long time. We need the competition. We need it. Well, and it sounds so cliche. It sounds so cliche, but it's true.
It's true. It's true. But what you said before you talked about the market share of AMD, I hadn't checked on it in forever, right?
Yeah.
When you said that actually kind of changed my view. I mean, I feel like AMD has actually gained a lot more ground than I thought they did. Like, I think AMD actually has a legitimate shot now. I mean, they still don't have they don't have the net worth of Intel. They don't have the net worth of NVIDIA by a long shot. But they're not. They're definitely not the poor company that they were.
I want to see if there's a figure out there where we can see what the current AMD market share is. How old is this image here? It only goes up to 2014.
Well,
that's
dude,
bad.
if their stock went up to $13 a share from $1 or something, I mean, there has to be a significant gain in market share.
Well, that stock could be rising on anticipated market share
That's
gains.
true. That's true. It could be artificially inflated, but you don't see that too much with tech companies anymore after shit like Facebook went down.
Okay,
You know?
right now we are seeing an AMD versus Intel. This was updated April 9th of 2016, so this is already almost a year old.
Yep.
We're seeing an 80-20. It's like literally on the dot, 80-20.
That's still better than I would have expected, though.
But are you ready for this?
What's that?
In Q4 of 2005, this is the K6 era. Okay, it was 48-52. 52 Intel, 48 AMD.
Wow, they really fell off. So they're just climbing back. But where were they like the year before?
Oh, God, let me put that image back up.
Like 2015, because we know that at one time the
2015, Q1 of 2015, it was 77-23.
Oh shit! Serious?
So they fell off more in the last year, but there hasn't been anything new to do. I mean,
That's
to
true.
buy.
That's true. Yeah,
they just had a
absolutely
little more efficient versions of the 8000 series, and
yeah,
then the
and
9000.
Intel was dropping things and they weren't, and yeah, no. So it does make sense that they would fall off a little bit. That's weird that their market, like their stock went up that much artificially without any more market saturation.
I'm telling you, it was the split off of the Radeon division having its own sub company under the AMD umbrella, and having a proper driver at the helm, and an engineering staff that was competent, that was allowed to do what it needed to do. And that's what we were saying all along. We were like, dude, please, someone buy Radeon and let them live, because Radeon was an amazing manufacturer company before AMD bought them, and then they got kind of stuck. Then they got stuck in the AMD culture, which was dying and going through constant CEO turnover.
Yeah, like I don't know how many of you guys, like I know that usually people are pretty brand loyal to what they're doing. I've been on both sides. I used to have a pair of Radeon cards in Crossfire, like actually not that long ago, back when I had my first liquid cooled rig. It was an i7 rig, and I ran two of those things in Crossfire. I will tell you that today NVIDIA still hasn't figured out a multi-mon scenario like ATI at the time did. Like the whole Radeon thing. Their drivers were so much better for the multi-mon scenario. Did you ever use any of that stuff, Jay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like in Radeon, I remember in Crossfire, like they had the whole thing with the consolidated bar in the center, not across all three screens. They had the proper maximize stuff to maximize to one screen with Crossfire enabled. They didn't have the crazy phase shifting and kill 20 apps to reopen it. What?
I'm laughing because I went to that website that has the prices leaked. I searched for the product. It's still there. They haven't removed it yet. It's got big red letters that say currently unavailable, do not order, but there's already 53 reviews on it.
Here, are there any funny reviews like Amazon?
Oh, let me see.
Those are always the best when people just leave fake reviews like, this is the best CPU I ever got. Like, did you ever see the ones for the TV, the 108-inch or whatever Sony television that was on Amazon that was like $120,000?
Oh, wait, no, I take it back. They're not reviews, they're votes. There are 53 votes, and it currently has 4.5 stars.
Nice.
I could vote. Let me vote. There. I just voted awful just to see what would happen. It said thank you.
Oh,
it didn't change anything. No, I don't think it's going to be awful. I just wanted to see what would happen if I clicked it. But this has to be legit. They straight up have manufacturing part numbers on this. UPC codes and everything. I'm sorry, but if you're AMD, wouldn't you be like, take this shit down because you know it's gone around?
Yeah.
Unless you're AMD, you go, wait a minute. Everyone's talking about the prices are awesome. Keep it up. Don't tell them take it down. Right? It's so easy to look. It's so easy to look at this from both sides.
You know that's another thing that companies do a lot too, is they will leak stuff on their own.
Oh yeah,
just to generate buzz, right? I mean, that's another tactic that people have been using forever. You know, they put it out there and then you find out, oh my god, this was leaked. You know, it could be AMD doing that on purpose to just strengthen their point and to make people go, oh I'm not going to buy Intel now because I know it's got to be close. If prices are already getting leaked from sites and stuff, it's got to be close.
All you have to do to keep someone from buying something from a competitor is find a way to cast doubt in some way. That's it. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna get into some of the donation comments here. I don't have too many.
I think I have one donation.
Yeah, so this has been a good discussion. You guys, look, it's 4,600 people watching because we actually talk tech the entire show, so we need to fix that.
I know we can't have that ever happen again.
Wrong,
God.
All right. Oh, geez. I'm sitting here saying how I can't pronounce people's names.
Try.
Sviatoslav Lichev.
Yeah, let me look at it so I can see. So it's Sviatoslav Lichev. Sviatoslav. That's a hard one.
Sviatoslav. Okay.
Sviatoslav.
Okay. So, love your channel, Jay. Keep it going. I also got Logitech G920 racing wheel now, and now playing Need for Speed 2016. What are your favorite racing sims for your sim?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love VR. That changed everything. So iRacing in VR is probably one of the best VR experiences so far. It's funny because it took the longest to implement, and when they first implemented it, it was kind of buggy. It wasn't that good, but there's been a patch since then, and it's the best tracking, the smoothest, the most real feel for VR so far in any VR I've done. So iRacing, hands down. Project Cars, buggy as fuck right now in VR. It started off smooth, but then they patched it a few times, and it is jittery, not stuttery, jittery. So and what jitter is in VR, and it really screws with you. It's when you turn your head, and then the frame will move somewhere and then move back. So as you're turning, it's like skipping as you're turning your head.
And that can make you sick, dude.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been able to go in and delete the config files, and then go in and do a race, and then it, like, when I go back in the next time, it's jittery, so I have to delete the files. It's a constant nightmare, which is too bad because Project Cars is the prettiest of the Sims.
Yeah.
Then there's Assetto Corsa, which doesn't work with Vive at all. I have to use the Oculus and Revive injector to make it think I'm wearing an Oculus, and then it works fine. So what does that say about the developers? I think there's clearly some bias there. But anyway, so Assetto Corsa is also fun. I do the same thing with Dirt Rally. Dirt Rally also works with Vive, with the Revive injector. So I can use VR and Rally. That's fun. A little scary, though, when you start tumbling off a mountain in VR. Suddenly you're like, ugh, you just want to throw up because suddenly you're in VR and the world is spinning.
When you're stationary, VR is a whole different thing. Like, it really is.
Like, if I spin out in VR and then suddenly I'm rolling backwards because I spun out, that makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
But anyway, yours? What are your Sims?
For mine, iRacing will always be my favorite, just because that's a game where you know that they're trying to keep it as equal and realistic as humanly possible, and they don't care about the graphics, they don't care about the sound. They just but that's it, right? It's the money that goes into that is how they're able to keep that thing under such heavy development. And I like the fact that they bias more towards the realism than they do towards the graphics, like many of the other games. Project Cars again would be mine. My second favorite game though would definitely be Dirt Rally, just because I love Dirt Rally. It's actually the closest thing to Richard Burns Rally.
Dirt Rally changed everything for me when I installed the Hydro Brake.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, Rally. You know as well as I do. Yeah. Going out to Dirtfish, like without an e-brake, you're not getting the best possible experience.
Well, were you allowed to use the handbrake when you were out there with me?
Oh hell yeah!
See, I didn't get to use it.
Oh man, I had to use it to save myself twice.
Yeah, I didn't get to use it. So.
I mean, that's honestly when you use it most. Unless you're doing a hairpin turn. You can usually just you probably just brake sharing the brake and the gas, right, to get the tail.
Yeah, I was 2 foot trail braking, but no, Nate knew you and knew what you were capable of, so he probably let you go for it. But I never went for it because I didn't have experience with it.
See that whole thing wasn't fair. I'll tell you what, this is how much trust Dirtfish has in me. Go watch the video where I review the DJI. I think it's the DJI Phantom 3 versus the Inspire 1. They literally just let me get in the driver's seat of one of their rally cars and do a sideways slide towards a cameraman inside.
Yeah, and then he fell over.
Well, that was on him though. I didn't.
All right. So Alfie Boy 113 says, "Wishing you the best of luck with the studio move. Keep up the great content. So close to smashing that 1 million mark. Woo! Yeah, and subscriber growth is slowing down across the board right now, which sucks because it's like I'm running a marathon. I'm getting to the finish line and I can see it, but I'm like, oh no.
There's a glitch going on right now too, though. There's a known glitch where well, I wouldn't call it a glitch. They're purging a group of people for some reason that's unknown to everybody. But it's really, really hitting statistics. Like I guess some of the big channels, like some of them lost 1 million subscribers in 2 days. It was crazy.
No. Let's see. Corey Fowler says, "Hey Jay and Jerry, love your guys' show. Can you guys give me a Rust gaming server shout out? It's called Anabolic Gamers, and we run 2 servers on a dedicated PowerEdge R410 server. All you guys have to do is search Anabolic Gamers in the search bar for Rust. The Rust server should be going up in a modded, or they should show up in the modded section of Rust. So there you go. If you guys want to play some modded Rush, why do I keep saying Rush? Battlefield, Rust. Too much Battlefield. If you want to play some modded Rust, head on into the game and search for Anabolic Gamers, and you will find their server. Be nice, though.
I've heard that's a really fun game. I haven't played it myself yet. I've watched some videos on YouTube, but it looks like it's a legitimately fun game.
I've watched some streams, and it looks like it could be super frustrating. Like if you get teamed up on by like a posse,
It's totally
Like,
a troll game. Yeah, it's totally a troll game.
like you're just screwing around trying to do your thing, you're killing some bears and stuff, trying to make your weapons and make your shack and your home and all that, and then suddenly just like this group of geared out, all the bullets, all the shotguns and stuff just roll up on you, and what do you have, a bow and arrow? And you're naked.
I watched I watched a video where some guy walks up to another guy and he's like, "Hey, you want to go help me, take over this guy's camp or whatever?" And then he goes and helps him take over the camp, and then the dude stabs him in the back and steals all his shit and runs off.
It's literally playing The Walking Dead, but only with like feral animals.
Pretty much.
And feral people. It does look frustrating though. I mean, and that's the thing. When you die, they can take all your shit. So, okay. Nicholas York. Hey guys, big fan. Do you think Ryzen will be able to stream Netflix at 4K like KB Lake?
No.
That could be a determining factor for lots of people.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I stream 4K on things all the time that aren't KB Lake, so I'm confused by this comment. If he's referring to internal GPU, I don't think Ryzen's going to have an internal GPU. AMD doesn't do that.
Dude, nobody uses the
internal
GPU.
Let me paraphrase that. That. On the CPU side of things, they have their entire APU market for that. Okay. I want to paraphrase that because that made it sound like I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, because I don't.
Because the APU is a little different though, because that graphics chipset, I wouldn't even compare that to what Intel has. Intel has the equivalent of a software emulated graphics system with like an accelerated.
And AMD always touted like our APUs are so much better than Intel's integrated graphics, and Intel was just always like, that's cute. And okay.
Yeah, you guys strapped a GPU onto your CPU.
You know what?
That's not fair.
The iGPU is only good for troubleshooting GPU problems.
I like troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting. It's the same thing. Pepcac troubleshoot. Okay. Mitchell Gherkin says, "Hey guys, I disassembled and sold off my 5820K and 2 times Titan X Maxwell SLI rig. This one's a long one.
All right.
Once Ryzen is released, I'm going to rebuild, but I'm wondering what placeholder graphics card I should get for around 300 for 1140p. I think he means
1440.
Yeah, I guess.
I think he means 1440.
On a downscaled 4K screen while I wait for the new flagship from either company. Also, Jerry, super happy you're uploading. Gonna watch the vid after the stream. Okay, that's a long one.
Yeah.
This guy sold off a 5820K. Well, if we already know it's gonna be faster than the 69. Well, fast as a 6900K, then that was a good move, I guess. First of all, forget 1440p downscale on a 4K screen. It's gonna look like shit. Just do 1080. Because 1080 will look like native 1080 on a 4K screen. Yep. Then you can run any GPU you want practically at this point, like a 1060, 1070. For $300, why are you going to dump $300 if this is a temporary move? So I would go with like a 1060, 6 gig, or even like an RX 480 from AMD, and just run 1080 on that 4K screen.
Or just play Counter-Strike Source for a couple of days using that awesome software emulation.
There you go. Andrew Wright says, "Hey Jay and Jerry, it's Andrew, all the way from England in a town called Worcester. I'm a huge fan of both of yours, and I love the content. That said, this is my first time tuning in live due to the horrific time difference. I'm at university studying computer networking, and you help feed my passion for technology. Keep being awesome."
Woo!
I suck at networking. You know that.
Networking is one of my strengths. Well,
I wish I had more time to just play around with it. I'm gonna need to get good at it though, because I need to put together a editing cloud for me to access from home too.
Just build yourself a pfSense box on Linux, and once you figure that all out, you'll be a network guru. I
have time to figure out Linux. I haven't touched Linux since freaking.
Oh man, I forgot. You got a studio and you're your own media company now. Don't get Nick to do it, and then just take credit for it.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Nick complements my weaknesses, which means he doesn't have a lot of strengths in computers. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
The one area you don't. Yeah.
I plan on training him. He's going to get up to speed. You can't work around this and not pick it up. You know what I mean?
No, most 90% of my education came from working at Microsoft, not before. It was just you had to learn, right? Hit the ground running.
But he's not going to pick this up until he's full time, and that's not going to be till April. So he's only, part time right now. Okay. Kyle Buchanan, he's a long-time donator. He's donated a lot. In your opinion, who has the best dark blue pastel coolant, and what is your opinion on the Dell S278DG monitor? First of all, I have no experience with that monitor. Second of all, I have news for you. All the pastels on the market are from the same company. And no, it's not Mayhem's. All of the pastels use the same base, which is Dragon Ice. Dragon Ice, okay, with the exception of Primo Chill. They've got a new one. They've had one that was prototyped for a while. They shelved it. They're making a new one or whatever coming back. So they've got their own. But all the rest, like EK, Dragon Ice, Mayhems are all the same base. The difference is they're using Mayhem's dyes. So far, the green has not changed color on me. I can show you this. The green has stayed plenty of vibrant a color. There it is right there. Plenty of green. And I have played a lot of games so far on this machine compared to the last build, so it has not changed. Remember, it was the color change had to do with like red-based coolants, like yellow, orange, and red, purple, stuff like that. So I don't suspect blue will change. I've had the blue pastel running in the Nano S ITX build that I did for the Fractal CPU day or PC day at Newegg. That light blue didn't change color yet either, and it's been in that build for now for a while. So yeah, go with Mayhems or EK on that, or you can get the Dragon Ice and dye it yourself.
Dude, liquid cooling is just so hard. It's just so hard.
It's funny, because I did the video about the test bench behind me back there giving me a problem, and then I ended up taking the opportunity to change out the tubing and all that, which I wanted to do but was putting off. Of course, whenever something goes wrong with water cooling, that's the opportunity for all the naysayers to be like, see, that's why air cooling is better. That's why air cooling is better. Air cooling is a hell of a lot more convenient. Yes, absolutely. But there's something about making a car go 300 miles per hour down the quarter mile, too, that's unnecessary but fun.
There is that last 10%, even though it costs 100% more, is still just somewhat tantalizing. Dude, I used to be the same as you. I used to be the guy that sit in the BIOS, like literally, even in my air cooling days, sit in the BIOS. One microvolt, one microvolt, one microvolt. Okay, dude, okay, take the side off the case, put a box fan on it, just to see how fast I could make it go. But it was never really stable.
Yeah,
and that's what annoyed me. And then I got old. When you get old, you start getting kind of crotchety. And you're like, nah, I just don't want it to work.
Well, what happened in my case was I ended up getting to the point where all the time I used to spend fiddling and tinkering with this stuff is now spent making videos and doing business shit. So that's one of the reasons why I had to expand, was I was hoping... See, it's going to cost me time to get Nick up to speed, especially when he goes full-time. It'll take a while until he's self-sufficient. But I'm banking that once he's ready to offload a lot of the stuff I do, like the B-roll and... editing assistant. I'd like for us to be able to edit concurrent videos at the same time. Like he's working on one video, I'm working on another. We spend a week banging out recording, the next week banging out all of the editing, and we keep a cycle going like that where we can get ahead. I might have time for hobbies again.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I would
but it's
like
gonna
to
take time to
like
get
that,
there.
But I have nobody. So I'm just gonna
forever alone. I had nobody until I hired Nick.
Alone. It's okay. I still got you. You're still here with me spiritually. Yeah. Hey, can I read a couple of my comments so that people
that must be what that smell was. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's see here. Alan K said AMD Ryzen R7 1700 8-core 16T 16 thread 65 watt. AMD launches Instinct MI25 to compete against Titan X Pascal and deep learning operations. Instinct MI25. Are you familiar with that?
Sounds like an event. I don't know.
All right, so it sounds okay. So it sounds like AMD is coming out with something to rival Titan X for deep learning operations. Good, they should. They absolutely should.
But Titan X isn't. But Titan X isn't just is the Titan X is their affordable deep learning product. P100 is what you need to compete against if you really want to get in the deep learning game.
Yeah, those are just the compute cards, right? Like the ones that they put. Yeah, they just put 8 of them on a custom bus and slam them in a rack.
And P100 is HBM.
That's awesome. Tracy Miller said, "I thought the audio issue was you, but Jay is a dickhole. Keep up the good work." Okay.
It's always my fault. It's fine.
It's always Jay's fault.
Look, if something went wrong, it's your fault. If someone was mean, it's my fault. Okay.
It's funny. It's like anytime something's going wrong, I just brace myself because I'm just waiting for Jay to be like, "Oh, your shit's broken." Then like 20 minutes later, after I tear my whole office apart, to be like, "Oh no, I found it. It was a button on my desk." Jared,
I gave you helpful setup today.
Yeah, you did
because I alerted you to an issue.
You did. You were very courteous and helpful today.
I could have been trolling you the whole time.
Maybe,
but I didn't.
Maybe you were. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Jared Zarnikow. We all know Jared. Jared's been a long-time listener, first-time viewer. Hey, buddy, how's your day going? My day's actually going pretty good. I'm a little bit tired. I didn't sleep well last night, but that's just been an ongoing problem. So I finally have the opportunity to get either a Prusa i3 Mark II or the HTC Vive. Oh, that's a tough choice, dude. And I can only get one right now, but not sure which one I should get first. Any thoughts? Okay, well, here's the easiest way to solve this problem is if you're more worried about your fitness and exercise and having fun, get the HTC Vive. If you're more worried about like creating things and having all your friends and family constantly beg you to make them stuff, get a 3D printer. So what I'm saying is get the HTC Vive first and then get the printer later.
I'm gonna buy another Vive. I'm gonna buy another Vive for the studio because I want to have a game area.
Dude, they're so good. Like I went over and did this mixed reality thing. The video will be out on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday. And it was awesome. It's awesome to actually be in a virtual reality world interacting and then watching yourself third person in that world in a video.
Yeah. I remember you
It's the
showing
coolest
me
thing.
his stuff when I was up there.
Dude, it's so cool. I finally went and did it, and it's like we got video of him like actually walking around me with the camera. So it's like he's a cameraman inside of the world as I'm fighting it. Dude, it's the craziest shit ever, but you need so much space to do it. It's like
Yeah.
not practical. So it's good to have a friend that has that. But yeah, I would say get the HTC Vive. Let's see here. Just be careful not to sweat in it too much. I actually fried Jesse's HTC Vive with my sweat. I feel so
Ew.
bad.
I know there's vents in there. You must have sweat into the
Yeah,
vent.
I'm gonna get him another one. No, what happened is we had a really long session, like 2 hours, like playing games, swinging my arms and everything like that. And we take off the headset, we set it on the ground, we come back and there's just a big wet spot on the ground, and we pick up the headset, and like water almost poured out of it. We were like, oh shit, it didn't work after that.
It must be the amount of salt content in there.
I think that's what it was. The salt content, yeah, just made it hyper conductive. He said, oh, and also the 7-week lead time for the Prusa i3 means that I have to wait about 7 to 8 weeks to get it. Yeah, no, wait on the Prusa. Just get the Rift. The Prusa will still be there later. Hell, if you wait a little while, you might even be able to get the upgrade to the Prusa that's coming out that allows you to use 4 different filaments through one nozzle, which is amazing. Let's see, because I'm impatient to hell. Hey Jay, what does he say? Hey Jay, come to the Dakar Psi. What is that? DAKRSI? Oh, I mean the AMD side. That's what he said. We have milk and cookies. Love you both and have a great day. Oh no, Jared's an AMD guy.
I have cookies and milk downstairs.
Jared, I didn't know you're an AMD guy. God, we can never talk to him again. I'm just kidding.
The line has been drawn.
Yep. Liam M said, "Hey Jerry, how's it going? Same old, same old. G'day
Dude.
from Australia, sud dude.
Down under.
LTL FTD, long time lurker, first time donator. I like that. I'll go with that. Take that. I have a 2001 Subaru Liberty sedan, non-turbo. Should I install a twin turbo system or purchase a factory twin turbo one that has been written off and swap the drivetrain?" Honestly,
do we have Liberties here?
I don't think we have the Liberty here. We don't have the Liberty here, but if it's like the rest of them, like if it's the rest of like the WRX line, yeah, do a drivetrain swap. Don't just slap turbos on there.
I'm looking it up right now.
You're basically going to have problems snapping your control arms and all kinds of stuff.
What
like
year?
That.
2001?
That's a 2001 Subaru Liberty sedan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the other thing too is if you just slap turbos on it without doing any of the internal work on the motor, unless you're running really low boost, you're not going to benefit hugely from it.
They literally look like a Legacy with a WRX front end.
Oh, really?
They're long like a Legacy, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that that's probably based on the WRX chassis. And if it is, go get yourself an a totaled STI drivetrain. Will set you back. I don't know how much in Australia, because everything in Australia is $1 billion, but I'm sure it won't be that
definitely longer than a WRX. I don't know about the wheelbase. Maybe the wheelbase is the same, but the car itself definitely looks longer.
Interesting.
It might be the same length. Well, is the wagon the same length as the coupe, as the sedan?
It is, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, then it might work.
So yeah, no, but even if there's a turbocharged version of the Liberty and you could swap it, just check on the motors first, because I guarantee that the turbocharged version of it probably has a different compression ratio and, more importantly, probably has a stouter transmission.
I'm cracking up because it literally looks like from the driver's door forward, it's a WRX. From the driver's door, like the back of the driver's door rearward, it's a Legacy.
That's weird.
And I bet you right now that he's down there going, "What's a Legacy?" It's a Liberty.
I wonder if in Australia they have one that's like a Subaru Brat in the back, but in the front it's like an STI.
Oh man, do you remember when they had remember they tried to bring back the El Camino via the El Camaro?
Yes.
So it was a Camaro front end with the El Camino back end back in the early 90s. I was like, what the hell?
Have you ever driven an actual Subaru, like the 70s Subaru Brat?
Mm-mm.
It is the most gutless vehicle I've ever driven in my entire life.
Yes. A coworker back, like one of my first jobs had one. I had like 3 headlights.
Yeah, in first gear, I couldn't get it to go. Like, it was a pretty steep hill, but in first gear, with just me in it, nobody else, I slowly started going up a hill, and it couldn't go. It killed the motor. It went, clunk.
No, you're right, because this same coworker also had a Geo Metro 3-cylinder that he was in love with and like sticker bombed it. That was his fast car.
Yeah, no. I to this day, I swear to God, I've never been in a car slower than the Subaru Brat. Like, I've never had a car in first gear not be able to climb a mountain. Let's see here. Ian Webb said, "Hey Jerry, looking to get my A+ certification. Any suggestions or thoughts?" You know what? I don't know
Practice
how
tests.
much. I don't know how much water the A+ holds anymore. Honestly, I mean, that's a really old certification, but I don't honestly hear about it a lot. I hear more about MCSE and stuff like that than I do the A+, even though I know A+ is more generic.
Yeah, it depends. Okay, so a lot of companies will, at least out here, will accept an A+ in lieu of work experience for like level 1 IT. And level 1 IT guys, like I said, this is like the grunt work of IT. You're not really doing any fun stuff. You're not doing any server work and doing any networking or anything like that. It's literally like your asset tagging stuff. It's just that dull.
Yeah, if you're going for a job as a network engineer, because I know the bulk majority of the A+ certification surrounds hardware and networking.
No, N plus is networking.
Oh, that's right. There is, well, the networking in the hardware sense,
Yeah.
like how long you can run an Ethernet cable, stuff like that. So I'd say the A+ certification is only worthwhile if your aspiration to enter the industry is as a hardware support or some hardware support role in a lab. Because honestly, all the software developers, all the testers that I hired at Microsoft, a lot of them had A+ certifications on their resumes, and I never even took that in as a factor when I was selecting candidates for that role. Now, as far as a networking engineer, I'm sure that you'd probably more likely need that, but it all depends on what you're doing. If you want to get on the software side of things, go for like MCSE first, or if you want to do the hardware thing, go for the A+.
Let's see.
Well, the nice thing is once you enter the industry, like even if you entered as a network, because I entered the industry as a hardware guy. In Microsoft, that's what I did. I was a hardware support guy in a lab. That's all I did. Once you get in the door, then you can get the company to pay for your education. And MCSE isn't cheap. Neither is Cisco or any of the other certifications. So at least A+ is the one certification that's not too bad to get. Like it's not super duper expensive. So if that gets you in the door in a lower level,
you can get A+. I think it's like $300.
Yeah, it's not an expensive certification. So I'd say, yeah, if you're confident you can just go in and nail it and don't have to keep retaking it and keep paying, then
a lot of companies that will accept A+, basically that's just proof that you know the basics. More so than just saying I know the basics, but I don't have any piece of paper that says I do. I took computer science in high school. I mean, yeah. So that's basically all it's good for is an interview at that point.
Yeah.
But if you have to spend money to get an interview to make more money, then I guess it's worth it.
Here's the thing that sucks about certifications, and I know this because I used to interview a lot of people. One of my roles at Microsoft was actually interviewing people for the team, for the division that I was in. So I was in the interview loops for full-time and for contingent staff. And I'd get all these people in that would have certifications on their resume. And I cannot honestly tell you that any of them that came in with the certification on their resume were any more knowledgeable than the people that didn't, that just did it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy. So I could see
people who do it as a hobby tend to know more anyway.
It's true. It's true. So I see the certification is maybe moving you up higher on the stack in some companies as far as them just being a little bit more confident and wasting time to interview you. So that's a good benefit to have it. But as far as if you can get the interview and go in and nail it, they're not going to give a shit if you have that certification or not, if you can just ace that interview.
Yeah, well, people that do it as a hobby tend to know more because they follow their enthusiast or their enthusiasm and their excitement for a thing, and then they kind of work their way through the entire genre, if you will. I don't people who go to people, and I'm not knocking people who go to school. I'm just saying from my own experience, when you go to school, you're on a track. You get to learn what they teach you, and that's it.
Yeah, there's a sort of out of the box thinking that you obtain by learning things on your own versus just learning the same cookie cutter way to do things, going and following a school curriculum. But I will tell you this. I mean, a lot of people ask me where I went to college. I didn't go to college. I dropped out of high school, got a GED. I don't hold a single certification even to this day. Even though Microsoft offered to pay for me to get the MCSE, I never did because I never needed it. I mean, everything I was doing was just fine. I was already kicking ass at my career. So you can excel without that stuff. But I will tell you right now that depending on the person at the company that's sorting through the resume pile, if it's a company that has more people applying for the jobs than jobs available, that certification is going to put you higher in the pile. So it's by no means a guarantee, though, that you're going to get the job. Yeah. Aaron Marcus, actually, this is a good one because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this too, Jay. He said, "Hey, Jerry, loved your video." Yeah, I finally released a video, guys, after over a month. I'm getting back into it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I got to do a really cool experience last night. He said, "Me and my wife are trying out our homemade version of the tank by laying naked outside Minnesota." What he's talking about is a sensory deprivation tank. And
been watching a little bit too much Stranger Things, have you?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I got to do it last night. He said, but in all seriousness, be trying.
Did you go to the Upside Down?
I did. Okay. Somebody, you know what's funny? 3 of those comments on the video already. Did you see the Upside Down? And then somebody was like, "Did you find the demo something?
The Demogorgon.
Demogorgon.
Sorry, I just finally got to binge watch Stranger Things and catch up on it.
Such a good show. Such a good show. Waiting for season 2.
See the teasers?
No, I haven't. I'm not even going to look at them. I want to go into that blind. Okay. So what happened last night is I have a lot of back pain. You guys already know this. I've talked about it before. I have to take medication daily for my back. And so a friend of mine on Facebook that I haven't seen him in like 2 years, he messaged me and said that he's been doing this thing called floating, which, you think, okay, go into pool and float on your back. Same thing. No, I found out it's nothing like that. There's a place about 30 minutes from my house that does this thing called floating. I mean, it's literally just floating. And what you do is you go into this thing called a sensory deprivation tank. And I did
Sounds like a drug.
Yeah, it kind of is in a way. You feel like you're on drugs anyways. So you can watch the video on my YouTube channel after you guys are done with Tech Talk. I just released it today. But anyways, you go into a room that's sound isolated, and then you get into this giant pod that has 200 gallons of water, and it's about 10 inches deep. And they have 1,200 pounds of Epsom salt dissolved into the water. So the water is almost like syrup. It's still the consistency of water, but when you feel it between your fingers, it's got like it almost feels like lotion. It's very
It's
smooth.
not high school cafeteria salt?
No. And it's not like hard water like when you go to like a hotel somewhere that's running off city water, It's the softest water you've ever felt. What you do is you get into this tank and you float on your back, completely relaxing every muscle in your body. And the salt in the water makes you so buoyant that you can lay on your back with your head completely relaxed in the water and put your arms completely above you and you won't sink.
Because it's heavy.
It's so you like if you push your leg down and let go of your leg, it just bobs back up to the surface. That's how buoyant the water is.
No, I mean that's how buoyant you are compared to the water.
Yeah, no, but here, exactly. Fair enough. So the density of the water is much higher because it has the salts in it. So you get in this tank and you close the lid on it and you can't hear anything. You can't hear drops of water, nothing. It's completely sound isolated and it's dark. So you're inside of this thing for an hour. And what happens is the air inside of the pod heats to the exact same temperature as the water, and you lose the ability with your skin to determine where the water is touching you and where it isn't. So you suddenly just feel like you're floating almost in a free fall. It's the weirdest thing. And then you just stay in that state for like an hour. And so I did this, and during my hour, my brain slowed way down. I stopped thinking about things. I couldn't get to sleep, but I was like, what?
I wanna see you with a slow brain.
Dude, I know, right? All right. I went from squirrel to raccoon.
Did your voice drop too when it happened?
I was afraid to talk, dude. I was like, but all I can say is, hey, if you were on drugs and you went into this thing, hey,
in my drug water.
If you took drugs before going into this thing, you'd probably just freak your shit out, like, or have the best time ever. I could.
So you gotta take like some LSD right before you go in there.
You drown. You just trip balls and die. So I'm laying in this thing
face down.
And what it allows you to do is, when you lay on a pool and you float on your back, you still have to have some muscles kind of tense, and you have to change your breathing to stay afloat. In this thing, you just let everything go. You relax your entire neck, your entire back, everything. And you just feel like you're on a cloud. And then after about 10 minutes, when your body adjusts to the air and water temperature, you no longer feel the water. And it just feels like you're in a giant open infinite space where you can't see anything or hear anything. And you're just floating. And then your mind just starts kind of getting intense.
I imagine you're in like the Lego movie with the Elliot's empty head when they went into his head to see what he had ever thought of in a creative thought. It's just like this empty space you're floating around in. Like,
that's exactly what it's like in the Simpsons episodes when the world gets destroyed. They're just floating in the whiteness.
No, here's what's going to happen if I did that. See, I'm all streamlined right now, right? I've got a process, I've got a procedure. I work a lot of hours per day, but I know exactly what I'm doing when I'm doing it. It's just very, very analytical and very well thought out. I feel like I'd come out of there and be like, I'm going to Fiji on a life quest. And then you wouldn't see me again for 2 years. It's like I'd come back with a beard and be half the size I am today, and I would go, I have found myself.
Well, I didn't even know I was lost. I talked to like 2 or 3 people while I was there, and it was pretty obvious that this thing turns people into hippies. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, I was definitely getting the hippie vibe. Even my friend that told me to go, he was even like, "Oh man, I'm on total new wave hippie movement." I was like, I'm not really expecting a lot from this, but I will tell you this.
Did you leave a floater in the floater, man?
I should have. Somebody asked if I farted in there. I was like, you'd kill yourself.
I imagine
yourself.
But I imagine how big the bubble would be. Like, you'd see the bubble because it would take time to move through that.
Dude, it would probably push you out of the water. You'd fart and roll up your back and push you up out of the water.
Little brown bubble.
So anyways, when you're in there, you have an emergency button that you can push if you have like a panic attack, and then you can like bust into the room and like save you. But they say that never happens. But why do they have the emergency button? But the one thing I will tell you is my takeaway away from it, and this is why I want you to try it if you can ever find one of these, Jay, even if you go
Hell
once.
no.
I've always had back pain. Always. Like even when I take my medicine, I still have back pain. I still have a stiff back. I have a hard time standing up perfectly straight. The second I got into that thing, it took me about 10 minutes to relax. When I relaxed, I couldn't feel any pain anywhere in my body, not in any of my joints in my hands, not in my wrists, not in my lower back. It was
because your brain disconnected.
Yep. No, but when I got out of the tank, it lasted for almost 4 hours before the pain started coming.
Listen to me. These are the same excuses drug addicts use.
I am a drug addict. Have you used that excuse before?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Multiple times.
Anyways, it was pretty badass. I'm going back though. I'm gonna go back like 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it's not all in my head. But it was a pretty awesome experience. Like just being in a place where there's no sound and you can have your eyes wide open and you don't see shit. It's cool. It's a neat experience. I'd say everybody should try it at least once. But I wasn't expecting to relieve my pain like that. Like I've never
look.
I'm not used to not having any pain. That was a weird sensation.
I'm not gonna gateway float to hardcore float. Okay.
I just want you to try it once so you can tell me if you liked it or not. Just once. Come on, Jay. I'll come down there and we'll just have one day. We'll go have a mandate and go do some floating. We'll bond over a hot bath, a hot salty bath.
Can you float face down?
No. And that's the other thing I need to tell you is the salt content of the water makes it burn like fire. If you shave, you have to put petroleum jelly like over. I didn't do that, and I got in the tank and it like fried my neck. But I just wiped it off and I was fine. But yeah, you do not want to get that shit in your eyes or in your mouth, dude. It's like, it's
shitting in your eyes and mouth is bad. Okay,
very bad.
If anyone took anything away from today's show, it's don't shit in your eyes and your mouth.
Don't shit in your eyes and mouth. Could be fine. But no,
that's how you get pink eye, kids.
Honestly, you know who I'd like to see do it is Boogie. I messaged him on Twitter. I don't know if he got my tweet or not, but I was like, Boogie, if you got a place like this next to you, got to go try this because it's crazy. It's like when your body can completely relax. It's like doesn't matter how much pain you're in, your body just finally goes meh, and just lets go of it. I just wish it lasted like 4 hours. I was pretty pissed when I went to sleep, and I was like, oh shit, my back pain's back.
So for anyone that doesn't know, I am personal friends with Boogie on the side. So I say this out of just love for him. But is the tank big enough for him?
Yeah.
What happens to the water that you displace?
It goes over the sides. No, just kidding. No. No, it's a huge tank. I can get in it. Even me, I'm 300 pounds. I can get it and put my arms almost fully out to my side, like and not bump into things while floating. I think Boogie'd be like perfectly fine. They say on the website that they've tested it with up to 350 pounds, but they think it could go far beyond that. Like that's just the biggest dude that they had to test it with. But they're big.
But Boogie's like 520. That's like almost 45% more than they've tested. So I mean that he would have to have a specialty tank.
Yeah, and they do have them. They have the tandem tanks too, where 2 people can float simultaneously. I'm sure you could do one of those if you had to.
I would have to imagine that there's a tank somewhere, not necessarily in Arkansas, but
there's got to be. And then they have if you're claustrophobic, because a lot of people are. And this the thing is, like I've talked to some people that are claustrophobic that do this floating thing, and it doesn't bug them at all because they get in the pod and they turn off the light and it's weird. You don't feel boundaries because there's no sound bouncing off anything. You feel like you're out in the biggest open space you've ever been in your entire life. It's crazy. But if you do have claustrophobia problems, you can go in an open tank where it's like a swimming pool, basically.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's not for me.
Oh my god, it feels so good though. And your skin's like, even today my skin's like all velvety soft from all the Epsom salt. Oh my god, it's so good. Anyways, if you guys can try it, give it a try. I got a Groupon for it, so it only costs like $45 or whatever like that to go do it. And I was like, I liked it better than a massage. I get massages at Massage Envy, and I preferred the floating over a full body massage. So just to give you some context. James W said, I'm currently running two R9 390Xs in Crossfire. Should I sell them and get a 1080 Ti? Here we go again, if the Ti comes out. Or wait for something better. Speaking of cars, you need a VW Passat R36. Shits all over Subaru. Haha. Keep up the great content, both of you. Well, as soon as you said Passat, I was like...
It does shit all over Subaru. If you're in front, it pisses oil everywhere. I only say that because I love you, Nick. I know you're watching, but yeah, Volkswagens are nothing but are just like oil drip pans, man.
But to be fair, when I start my Subaru right now, like more smoke comes out of the hood than it does out of the back of the car. So I'm one to talk.
Oh, jeez.
Although
Speaking
mine
of-
doesn't burn it. Mine doesn't burn the oil. It just drips it on the ground.
I've got one more comment to read. How many more you got?
Let's see here. So, oh, you wanted to know? Oh, sorry, you wanted to know if he should get a 1080 Ti instead of his two R9 390Xs.
But I can't comment on a card that's not out yet.
No, it's not out yet. We don't have any numbers. So there you go. You got your answer. Zach B, I just got this last one. Zach B said, "Hey Jay and Jerry, at the beginning of Tech Talk, Jay mentioned issues with his forums. I'm a YouTuber just starting out, but an idea I'm working on is common community for tech and geek YouTubers. The system I'm using supports blogs." So the plan is to set up blogs for each channel and let people customize their own area, but also to have shared forums to build a stronger community. The current URL is http://interstellarinnovations.com. Wow, that was a long URL. Once I have some creators together, I'm planning on working on a final URL. Good. If you're interested, let me know. Here's my contact information, and I'll make sure that you get that, Jay. But it sounds to me like he's trying to create like WordPress for YouTubers.
No, okay. So first of all, I don't need the information because I'm not interested in a shared community. Okay. This isn't the first person to try this. Linus even toyed with doing this and determined it was a bad idea. So it's not a unique idea.
You have a central point of failure, right? All you need is one bad YouTuber on the system, and it's constantly under attack.
It also makes it very easy for people to just kind of like pop your head and be like, "Jay, you fucking suck," and then they go back to Linus's house, right? And so
it's true though. It's so true.
But so it's just the whole shared thing isn't for me.
Hold on. I got one more comment. And it's a really long one. Leah W. Liu Leaw Liu. Okay, you ready? This is gonna be a really long one, Jay. Hi.
What's up?
That was it. Dude.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You're good. Go ahead.
Chris Mace says, "Hey Jay, huge fan of yours and Jerry's. Actually, I found him due to his Bucket Forge video. You inspired me to build my own computer and go out and get my certification. Thank you. Both of you make my day when I'm feeling down. Well, I'm glad we can make you feel better. And if you're making money because of me, I do deserve a finder's fee. I think that's fair."
Well, you just got it in the form of a donation.
Fair enough.
he like paid to get you to read his comment. And you're like, I think I deserve some of that money. Oh wait,
I deserve more. Add a zero. So, anyway, what you got going on this weekend? Anything fun?
Me? No, not really.
You're gonna go float with your homies and.
Well, no, I will do a float. I am gonna do
float water.
I am going to do a float this weekend. I am. I just don't know which day yet.
You have to fart in one and tell me what happens.
I will. I promise you I'll fart in one, but I'm going to make sure I crack the shell first because it is so humid in there. You'd basically be breathing in your fart like a fart popsicle. It would suck. So I think I'm going to have, because you guys can see the room's almost put back together. Not really. I'm going to work on it some more. I'm going to have Jesse come over and help me install the lighthouses optimally because of my vaulted ceilings so that I can get the HTC Vive up and running.
Oh, crap. There's more. There's another page. Okay. Sorry. All right, so let me go fast. There's 3 more. Artizap, new subscriber. I love your videos. You've actually inspired me to do my first water-cooled PC when I build a Ryzen system this summer. Oh, geez. I've inspired a Ryzen build. That's okay. I'm building one, too. Quick question on water cooling. I saw you run your GPUs in parallel in the past, but can you run one GPU and the CPU in parallel? It could allow for a different tubing. Yes, absolutely. You absolutely can do that. It just ends up splitting the flow between the CPU and the GPU. It'll balance itself out. No harm will come of that at all. Do it. Ertz10, IRTS10 says, "Hey Jay, can you ask Jerry when his big machine masturbator is coming?"
Oh,
the arm thing. Yeah.
No, I already have it.
When's a video about it gonna come?
A video 14th. The 14th of this month. So let's see. Oh, God, that's coming up quick. I don't got a lot of time to do this.
Nick sent me a text message. I wonder what it says.
Well, I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend.
It says, "Congratulations, you're a dick." It's a meme.
for the VW comment. It's a little BMW, boy. That thing goes like stink, though, for like a little 1.8 liter. I'm actually surprised he hasn't blown the heads off that thing.
He won't race the van because he's still afraid that he might lose to the van. At the very least, if the van keeps up, he still can't brag. He won't race my minivan.
That would be pretty funny, though. But then again, in his defense, I've actually lost a race in the STI Stage 2 with a hard 4-wheel drive launch to an F350 turbo diesel with propane injection.
Oh, yeah. My buddy's F250 was stupid fast.
Yeah, it went flying by me like I was standing still. And I was like, holy shit.
So it probably had like 800 pounds of torque at that point.
Oh, I'm sure it did, or more. I mean, it was nuts. It sounded crazy, too, when it went by. So Wait, what were we talking about before?
I have one more donation to read.
Yeah, go ahead.
Terry Reed says, I love your guys' channel, but Jay, I have a favor. What do you think of a video with a budget-ish custom loop setup? Like a full loop on what parts you need and parts list, then compare it to an H100i. I've already done that a while back. A very, very basic build, like under $200, which is actually pretty cheap for custom parts. I didn't compare it to an all-in-one. I'm still going to do the Home Depot loop eventually.
I want to see that. I do want to
I
see
have
that.
so much I want to do, but I'm limited by the space. So just give me some time till I get in the studio and get moved in, and I promise you will see some pretty terrible shit. But I'm going to make it, okay? So anyway.
I have to get the Nerd Cave put together, though, because that... the robotic arm. Sorry. The robotic arm, I got to get it up here. We're dealing with some calibration issues that I'm having here. They actually implemented every feature I asked for. I sent them a list of like every single thing that I think the robot needs for me to safely test it and deploy it in the Nerd Cave, because it is a beta product, right? So, and the developer comes back and he's like, "Yeah, I implemented everything. I'm sending you an SD card in the mail. It'll be here tomorrow." I was like,
wow.
I was like, "Oh my god, man! I love being on this project." But yeah, I'm gonna duct tape a fleshlight to that thing and go to town.
He's gonna strap on, guys. He's gonna strap on there.
Yeah, we checked it. The torque numbers work as long as it's lubricated properly. It should be able to move fine.
But it's more about the consistency, though.
Oh, dude, this thing's consistent. I was thinking I could use a random number generator and call it stranger.exe.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I got this, guys.
So it's kind of like when you do the randomized stuff on like the treadmill.
Exactly. Except for it's on your wiener.
This weekend I'm gonna be at the track. This will be fun.
Of course you are, Richie Rich.
You were supposed to be out here, but you didn't come. So
I still want to though. I do bad more than ever. So I will get those tickets. Just let me know if there's any dates that are like holy shit blackout.
Holy shit blackout. Well, here's the thing. I'm not gonna race my car in the summer. The next month, I believe they're doing Big Willow Springs. I might go to that, but after that, then they're going to Button Willow, and then the summer months will be upon us, and I will not race my car in the summer. So it would be until the fall. If you don't.
Okay, let me know what days work best for you next month, and I will buy those tickets. I promise you.
I'm not convinced I'm going to go yet. I need to determine if I'm going to go.
Well, no, even if you don't go, just around the time, so it's an option if you do decide you want to go.
I had a really scary moment at Big Willow about 17 years ago, and I don't like Big Willow. So anyway, no, guys, I didn't lose it on turn 9. That's where everybody loses it. Mine was brake failure going into turn 1 at full speed. Anyway, I digress. Depends on where.
Gotcha.
Depends on where on track. Anyway, that's it. So Coconut Monkey and I tomorrow are going to be doing a vlog. It'll probably be up on the vlog channel next week about getting the car prepped for the track. I've got to do some stuff. And then we'll do some vloggy stuff at the track like we always do. So with that, any last... Well,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you for some insightful words, but I might get more than I bargained for.
Go ahead. Ask me for them.
All right, what are your words of wisdom to leave everyone with?
My words of wisdom are...
Wait, hold on.
Oh, okay, give me some music.
Yeah,
all right.
Hold on. I got this here.
All right, we got this. We got to do it proper. Not do it at all.
Nope, that's not the right one. There you go. Go.
All right, guys, my words of wisdom for today are a kiddie pool, 1,200 pounds of Epsom salt, a garden hose, and some duct tape. And you too can be relaxed and as pain-free as Mr. Barnett is. Have a wonderful night, and make sure you kiss your kids. And if you don't have them, kiss somebody else's kids, and try not to go to jail.
The mall's a good place to find kids.
That's what I heard. I heard the mall and those like little kindergartner care places that just have like a little 3-foot picket fence around somebody's house front yard that just kids are running free while the person's inside drinking wine. Anyways, I digress. You guys have a wonderful evening.
You can't digress. I digress. I digress.
You regress. Wait. Okay, you know what, son bitch? No, this is what we're gonna do. Hey, how's that Terry Crews build going? Can you give us an update on it real quick? How's it going?
Absolutely. So I've got the graphics cards. I've got the RAM. I've got the motherboard came in yesterday. I've got the case. All the water cooling stuff is on its way. So yeah, anything else you want to know?
No, I think that
I can tell you GeForce Garage has hopped on the team for helping me do the mods.
Nice. Is it gonna have 1080 Ti's in it, dude? Is it?
No, Titan X's.
Is it? Oh, Titan X's.
You're just jealous.
It's gonna be awesome.
You're just jealous because you only have 2.
Dude, I'm just jealous because that guy talks to you. Like, I'm jealous just because he talks to you. Even if you guys weren't doing any shit together, even if you rear-ended him and he talked to you, I'd be jealous.
Just to exchange information?
Just exchanging information. Like, if he had your insurance number in your name.
If I rear-end him, well, I already have his information. But if you rear-end him, then you'll have his information too.
Oh, dude, I'm putting that on the list when I come down.
You're gonna find him and ram into him.
Just ram into him. Give me some Terry Crews.
All right, guys, I'm running that the intro, outro, whatever right now. Just go. Shut up.
I'm gonna go eat some food, and then go fart in a float tank. Dude, diarrhea in a float tank would be terrible.